Good morning, garden friends. Today we're in the greenhouse early in the morning before it gets hot because it's going to get near 100 again today. So I try to get out here as early as possible while it's still coolish. It's been in the upper 60s for a low, which is kind of still warm for us in the mountains. But about a month ago, I shared with you how I was rooting. I've got mosquitoes in here like crazy. About a month ago, I was in here showing you how I root roses. I had taken some cuttings from in front of my sister-in-law's house. I named it the Tammy Rose because we don't know what it is. It was been there for 50 years. So it's just beautiful. I'll show you a quick picture of it again, right here. And it just covers their fence. Now this is an area that doesn't get any extra water or any care. This rose doesn't get pruned, nothing. This is just let go. So I wanted some cuttings of it because it was just gorgeous. And I think hopefully if it's tough there, it's a different growing area, so it might not be as tough here. But I still wanted to try it. So I potted some cuttings up. I did some in a terracotta pot with a cover. This is what I used to cover it with. It was a mayonnaise jar, so it went over it like, like a little terrarium. I did some in here. I've already tossed out some because many of them rotted, like that one. It was dark. This one may have rooted. We'll see. I don't know. And then I did some in the cup. Now, one may have rooted in here. This one's looking a little tired, so I don't know. So I haven't opened up these to check them yet. I've only pulled out ones that rotted. So I saw roots coming through the bottom of this, and so I knew these had rooted, and they looked pretty good. I've already potted up a couple. I think every single one in the terracotta pot rooted. So I'm thinking maybe they like that it can get air. I don't know. I'm going to test it again. I've got my Eden Rose I want to propagate some more of, and I'm going to try it the same way. I'm going to do it in 3 different containers, and I'll do some in terracotta, some in the cups, and some in the milk jugs, and we'll see again if the ones in the terracotta do better. So it's time to pot them up. Let me get these out of their pot and see what they look like. Lots of sand. Ooh, maybe that was the ticket. That's had a lot of sand in the mix. Maybe I'll do that again. They're stuck to the bottom. I don't want to rip the roots off. Aha. Boy, that had a lot of roots on it. Look at that. Can you see that? And then this one really had a lot of roots too. So that's the ones from the terracotta. Lots of sand in there, a little bit of soil. But I think that's the same in here. It looks like that has a lot of sand too. So I'm going to get these 4-inch pots that are taller, so they're not the shorter ones. Then the roots can really develop. So I'm just going to go ahead, mix this sand in here, and I fill it about halfway full. That's a little more than half. But then I'm going to put gently, so I don't disturb those roots too much, and pot it up. Now these were kept over by my studio, and I showed you when I put them there, where it gets a little bit of morning sun and then afternoon shade, and the ground is kind of moist there all the time. So the humidity is high right in that area. So with the warmer temperatures, it only took 4 weeks for these to root. And the video I did where I rooted them in fall, it took like 3 months to root. So that shows you the difference in doing it this time of year when they're actively growing. So I'm going to clean up this pot, and my next cuttings I take of my Eden Rose or whatever rose I'm going to take cuttings of, I'm going to put in there since it was such a success. So another one, put that right there so that it can sit on top, and it has plenty of room for the roots to go down. So I would say this one is 2/3 full. And put that in there. I will water these well, and I will put them under my deck where it's shady and humid because it stays moist under there. And for a little bit before they get situated, while they get situated, I mean. And then I will go ahead and put them out by the studio where they get the morning sun, afternoon shade, And then after a little while, I'll move them out into more sun. So now let's check on the ones in the cup. Let's see how they did. Now there's 3 left. I already pulled some out of here. And this is the one I had perlite in the bottom. Now they calloused over. Now when they callus over, they will usually root, but no roots. And these were all done at the same time. Ooh, this one's starting to get a root. So very, very interesting. Now these were a little bit bigger, so a little harder of a cutting. So they took a little longer. Well, these were more of a tip. See how much smaller they are? That could have been part of the reason too for these others to root sooner. So this one's rooting. I'm going to go ahead and put it in this pot and see if it continues on. I'm not going to put I will put a cover on it. I put it down in there gently so I didn't tear that root. And go ahead and put soil in there. What I will do is I will use the cup. I think I have a clean one over here. Well, I'll use the cup and I'll create a cover for it just until it gets more roots and I'll be able to see. I will go put this back over where it was by the studio. And then this one didn't show any calluses whatsoever. So I don't have high hopes for it, but it's still green. So I may just go ahead and put it in. This one seems to be struggling, though it has calloused, so it could put roots on. So I will, do I have any more terracotta pots? I'll go ahead and put it in one of these terracotta pots. Well, maybe not. I'll just go ahead and put it in one of these and give it a chance to continue to root, try to root, and call it good. I may lose it, but that's okay. I've got 4 others already growing. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it in this big pot. I'm going to get another cup. Now these cups have holes that I have put in the bottom, so if they do get air. And then when it waters, it goes in the corners, and when I water over it, it goes down in there. So that's going to go back out to the place, and we'll see. It could continue on. This one didn't do a thing, so I'm just going to toss it. I'm not going to waste space on it. Okay, so let's check this last one out in the milk jug. I not only had that, but I think I got a couple of petunias and a black-eyed Susan coming up. So let's see what this one looks like. It's got, forgive my ring. Okay, let's see. Oh, wow, that one has some good roots to it as well. Now this one also looks like it's a narrower cutting, so it may have been a little bit of softer wood. So I'm going to pot this one up, and I'll finish cutting that lid off and let those petunias continue to grow, and I'll put them out in the garden somewhere. That's the one thing. I grew old-fashioned petunias last year. They're the ones that have the real pretty scent, and I grew them from seed, and they just do beautifully, and they spread their seeds around, and they'll come up wherever. But they do beautifully, and they are beautiful. You don't need fancy petunias to have beautiful ones. Okay, so I'm going to, this leaf looks a little gnarly. Excuse my reach. For my little clippers. I love these little clippers. I'll link to them so you can get some. Okay, and this is all new growth up here. So we'll let that get going. Put it with these, and I need to mark these pots. So I'm going to get my marker out and mark those. And I'll just put Tammy's Rose on here. Tammy's Rose, Tammy's Rose. If you don't do this, you will forget what you have it where. I'm just going to put Tammy's that way because I know it's a rose. Tammy's. We're all good? All right, now I got a cutting from a vintage rose from a friend of mine a couple weeks after I had taken these cuttings, and I think it took. Now, one of them obviously did not. Do you see how brown that is? Yeah, see, it just rotted. That's not unusual. But I think this other one has roots, because I think I can see them right there. I think that's what that is. Pretty sure that's what it is. But anyway, so I'm going to dump it out, loosen it so if any of the roots are clinging to the bottom. Sometimes they stick to the bottom of the container. Okay, look at that. Beautiful roots. Beautiful roots. This is a single white, and it gets very large. And it is just a beautiful performer shrub rose. I don't know what it's called. Neither did she. She's had it forever. I'm getting another tall pot back here. And I just had to have some. And I just love taking cuttings from friends and family and getting new roses. So I'm going to empty that out so I don't have to push it in there. Because roots are very delicate. You want to be very careful and not rip them off, which you can do. So you want to set it on the soil and then fill it up. Don't push it down into the soil. If you push it, it'll rip them right off. Okay, so I need to put Carol's White on this because my friend's name is Carol and this was at her house. Carol's White single. Carol's White single. Now this is June 28th, I do believe. Yes, June 28th. And a lot of my roses are done blooming their first flush. So this is a perfect time to take cuttings. Now I've already taken some cuttings from my vintage Grandpa Newt rose. And I want to take more because I've had a difficult time getting that one to root. So some roses will root very easy, like this one. I'll show you this one. Is a ground cover rose that roots. I mean, the cane laying on the ground will root. It just roots so easily, but it is beautiful. It will send out long 6-foot canes. It'll cover ground in no time. It's very, very vigorous. I like to put it in on an obelisk or whatever and let it climb up because it will climb as well, just as beautifully, and bloom. I'll show you a picture of it right now in my front climbing over a wall. And you can see just how gorgeous it can be. And it's nice to find something that's super vigorous. If they're super vigorous, then it's easier to garden with. I try to find plants that really do well for me. There's a lot of new hybrids that come out and people showing you new plants and putting them in. But I like to experiment first because a lot of times you'll find maybe that plant doesn't work for you. It doesn't work in your area. And that just makes you have more work trying to maintain your garden. If you find things that thrive in your area, then it takes away a lot of the work because they just do their thing. So if a plant doesn't perform well for me, I will move it to another spot thinking it could be, it needs a different place in the garden, and that may work. If it doesn't, and it just doesn't like our climate and the amount of sun I get and my conditions, out it goes, because I don't need difficult things in my garden. So that being said, give things a try, or buy one small plant of a certain new plant or whatever and try it, but don't go in and buy all these $30 pots of plants and then they die on you, or they don't. So I hope you enjoyed potting up rose cuttings with me. These will be watered as they need. Do not waterlog. The main thing people do with cuttings or newly potted up plants is they overwater. So just make sure they stay damp. I have a water meter or a moisture meter, and I poke down in there. That really helps if you really don't know, because sometimes the top can be dry and you think, oh, they need to be watered, but down lower they'll be still damp and not need it yet. Okay, so like I said, I will see you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed potting up rose cuttings with me.